apartment. Graffiti green across the car parkway. What's the vitalist heartache? A point just too hard to make. Sometimes everything happens too late. How on your sword, then the rush to be born. I can't realize that
Day to day, though, very much looking ahead. In fact, looking ahead to the new year, which will bring us a new album from our final session guests of this year, the Croops. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey,
Hi,
Steve.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we're happy to be back at Maida Vale, so we're good.
You were saying just off air, 2003, your first session here, was it?
Yeah, no, I think it was November 2003. We were on tour with the Sleepy Jackson, and you were the first person to ever book us for a session, and yeah, we were so out of our element, it was amazing.
I think we were in Glasgow and it was cold, and we had to listen to the session on the radio in the tour van. That's how old school things are. We're all like keeping the heating on, listening, waiting for it for like 40 minutes or something.
It is something though, isn't it, when you first walk into Maida Vale, I think, particularly for your first session. But this is a great point just to say how amazing the engineers and producers are down here, though, because they will make you feel very at home very quickly.
Yeah, well, the first one was with Mitty, and so we want to shout out Mitty, like the legend, and but yeah, all the guys, they've worked with us like the entire time, so it's really cool. We just love that old school institutional feel of Maida Vale. That's what I like about it. I like getting lost in the corridors and desperately trying to find the canteen and hanging out and talking with the guys in the canteen and the workers.
And getting told you can do that and can't do that because of some BBC rules. So it's all good.
I played that Chairlift record, obviously, because Patrick from Chairlift has helped out on this record, which I guess has maybe contributed to a slight change in the musical mood. But I get the impression that you'd already decided that you wanted to make a different sort of Cribs record, and you knew vaguely where it was going, and so you built the team around that idea.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much exactly right. I mean, when it came to the kind of record we wanted to make, and also like sonically the kind of record we wanted to make. In the past, we've always just been like ticking off all our favourite producers from the record sleeves that we had as kids. So we predominantly worked with like people, like classic, like old school rock producers. People who we knew we loved their work, basically.
Mm.
And, we had kind of got to the point where it was like, for us, it just seemed like it'd be more interesting, and it would also like to like take us out of our element a little bit and work with someone who is very much works in the modern paradigm. And Patrick, even though he's from an indie background, and he totally gets us and he knows us, and we get on great with him, but he mainly works on pop and rap records and stuff these days. So it was like, we really liked the idea of bringing in someone did have a different, that was used to something different at this point, because it made us push ourselves a bit more, which is that's what we want now. We really want to feel like we're pushing ourselves.
It sounds cringy when a band like on the as far into the career as what we are like says, oh, we went in with a hip hop producer this time around, like it just sounds so square peg round hole, and like they're just they're just trying on a new outfit or something. But that was one of those great situations where you're like, yeah, we can actually like venture into something new with someone who, like, yeah, he might make different kinds of records now, but he fundamentally understands what we're about.
It's interesting, though. One of the things to me is, though, that particularly if you've been in a band as long as you have and have been, you're experienced in the studio enough now, you could probably just do it yourselves. But it's all about, does it become harder to find someone you absolutely trust? Because if you've got a bunch of songs and an idea in your head, it's always, the more experimental you go with your choice, the bigger the gamble it is.
Yeah, but in the past, that was the thing. It's like we always knew exactly what we wanted it to sound like. So we go in with somebody who we trusted because we were like, we knew they could do that job. Like, we knew what Dave Fridman's sound was. We knew what Steve Albini's sound was. With Patrick, that was the thing that was cool. Is like, that was the opposite of what we wanted to do. Like, I just showed up with one bass guitar in a gig bag on my back. That was it. That's all I brought to the studio, which in the past would have made me like really paranoid. But this time out, it was like, it was really liberating to just be like, yeah, I don't know it. I don't know it all.
Yeah,
you know?
and we'd finished all the songs like we were in the like. You know, where we have always recorded in like the old school way of doing it, where you finish your songs completely and rehearse them so that you can spend hardly any time in the studio, because, you know, spending more time in the studio doesn't necessarily mean better results. So we always did it in that old school way. And for this one, we had the songs finished, but we didn't turn the screws on, and we I guess like the whole approach to this has just been to kind of like get out of our own way a little bit for once, because we do have a tendency to kind of control it and helm the whole thing, you know, and we did have to kind of make a conscious decision to just like do things in someone else's way. And I mean, this record took a long time because it was a proper collaboration. I mean, the recording process of it was fairly quick, like tracking it, but after that, everything went on for ages because Patrick wanted to live with the songs. He wanted to keep throwing ideas at us and stuff. So that was a new experience for us. I just think at this point in our career, it's good for us to challenge ourselves, you know.
We'll talk more about the album after your first song this evening. Here's a track from it, performed live at the Mayville Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, it's The Cribs. It is The Cribs, our session guest this week. One of the songs that will feature on the new album, Selling a Vibe. And that was Point Too Hard to Make. I'll tell you just very quickly, just before we move off the subject of what it sounds like, the one thing, and I think the thing that Patrick's brought to this, and having listened to some of the records that he's been involved with, he does bittersweet very well.
That's what we do, though. That's what we've always done.
That's why this has worked.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's almost like rather than worrying about the sonic thing this time, it's like focus on something more esoteric. And it's like, we do bittersweet. Well, that's what Patrick does. So let's just like put those two things together.
Yeah, you do find yourself slipping into a routine, don't you? Not so much of late. You've had some time off, but it is a little bit like write some songs, record some songs, play the songs on tour, repeat, and everything you're doing slightly differently now. Which, do you recognise differences in each other? I don't even know if you keep in touch with each other when you're not on the road together, because you all live a million miles apart now, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, we stay in touch with each other pretty regularly, but like it does kind of get to the point where you only see each other on tour, or if you're doing or if you're recording and stuff. That's more of a habit, though. You know what I mean? I feel like that turned into a habit.
I think it's healthy for us to go away and not live on top of each other like all the time. Like it is with people and the siblings and things like that. I mean, we do get on well together and everything, and we do still spend a lot of time together, but I think in between it's nice to basically like all go to different parts of the globe in between meeting up again, and just kind of have a bit of time away.
Do you miss each other though?
We speak all the time. I mean, for the first 20 years of our lives, we were just the Jarman brothers. That's what we were. And then for the second 20 years of our lives, we were the Cribs, and to the wider public, we were the Cribs. So it's like, well, what happens to Jarman brothers? That like you have to we're trying to resurrect.
Yeah, they just went away. I mean, it just ceased to be a thing. But I agree with Ross where he says it's like it's kind of good for us to go to our own parts of the world, because when we do, when we're not on tour, we just don't think about, we just don't think about being in a band. You get to separate yourself from the band. Right. If we were together all the time, it'd be difficult to separate yourself from the band. And it's good for us to be able to do that, because then when we do get back together, we're not like sick of it and we're not taking it for granted. And we get more work done, writing usually goes really, really quickly because we're excited to be together again.
Because this is the thing. I mean, this record. I mean, two themes about it. One is obviously a lot of it's about the bond that you have as brothers, but there's an air of not regret, but there's an acknowledgement of stuff that's happened, both good and bad. It's you feel a little bit like it's the unbottling of some previously bottled up emotions and stories and things maybe everyone needed to admit to each other.
I just think you're really spot on with that, because it's like we've spoke about this between ourselves. We never talk about the lyrics before we make them, because we don't want anyone to like clam up and feel self-conscious. we usually kind of know what each other's talking about anyway. But that, like on this one, it's just a case of being. I think like we all like realized that you have to be uncomfortable. Like a lot of, and I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but you have to be uncomfortable. But especially like around your brothers, it's like that's the only way you can get to the more sincere kind of expression. And that what you how you describe it, that's pretty much exactly what we did. It's just being reflective, really.
Yeah, I've always felt like our struggles have always gone on behind closed doors and like leak out through the lyrics. You know what I mean? Because with us being brothers, we're so like insular and guarded. We have our own little world, you know. So you know, things just like leak out through the lyrics, I would say.
Was it a relief in some ways, committing some of the feelings and memories to songs, or
not so much in a catharsis manner? It's a relief in the fact that I'm glad that we did that, because it's like, when, you know, we had a little bit of time away, and you get to like look back on like your catalogue and look back on your songs, and like they do bookmark time. With this one, it was more like an overall thing, and so like got as deep into that as what we could. And now you never really know if which record's going to be your last one. You just have no way of knowing that. So I was like, this is a more overall inquest onto everything, and like an investigation, like, you know, with ourselves on everything. And it's like, I'm really glad that we've done that, because A, you leave a lot of baggage behind, but B, you've catalogued all of that stuff now, you know, as well, you know. And plus, like, we're just slowly evolving, I suppose. It's like we're kind of like now like we're like the clear-eyed Cribs as opposed to the glazed-eye Cribs that you probably met back in the day, you know.
The thing about this record, because it's a pop record. It's not a glossy pop record. It's a pop record. I tell you what it does. It feels really airy.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense.
It does,
like you've opened the doors, and it was, you know, it could have been a bit dark and claustrophobic at times in that room. But open the door, let the air in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like we again, it was one of the good things that working with Patrick is he would identify what, like, you know, we like if a song was built around like a riff or, you know, whatever the hook was, he would identify that and kind of put that front and center. And we didn't, you know, you don't feel the need to then just start like layering stuff for the sake of it. So it would be kind of like a case of finding like what the hook of the song is and letting that do all the heavy lifting, I suppose. We used to like to hide. Ultimately, I think we used to like to hide behind noise. You know, it makes things like a little. It was our sort of comfort blanket in that way, and it's like. But I think because like as we did try and be more incisive and like personal and self-reflective, it's like it makes sense for it to not hide behind anything. Also, like sonically, you know, it might sound a little pretentious, but I think that did factor into it. I wanted the lyrics to be front and centre and up front this time. Usually I'm not so much like that.
That's the great thing which is coming across is the fact that how comfortable you feel with having made this sort of records. And maybe, you know, it needed that amount of time and all the experiences you've been through to get to that point where you can make this sort of record before moving on again.
Yeah, it was really liberating. That's the main thing I'll say. I still feel like that. I still feel liberated by it.
Here's a couple more songs before we wear you out. Two more songs from the Cribs here live. Our final live guests of 2025 at the Maida Vale Studios. It's the Cribs. It is the Cribs in session, as I say, our final session of 2025 to Jackson, and then another number which was in one of the songs from the very first session.
Yeah, like when we played it in 2003, like we just thought it was a good way to bookend it. It's probably the last time we'll ever be at Maida Vale, and the first time that we were at Maida Vale, we played another number, so. It just seemed like a good way to go out, you know.
Yeah, it was probably the first song that we played in that set as well, isn't it? So it's proper bookend.
Yeah, the first song we ever played in, and it's the last. It's also kind of our signature song too, so that's appropriate.
Be interesting to hear the difference in versions. So I remember the first time we showed up at Maida Vale, like we thought it was like doing a gig. I remember we showed up with like beer and stuff in an off-licensed bag and stuff, and I think Ryan ended up like for some reason he was like half naked at the end of the.
He was just playing in his pants.
He was playing in his pants at the end. I was like, well, I looked up from the drums, and then Ryan was. I said, like, well, this is a radio session. Nobody can see.
I think Steve said in the interview, he's like something like, last time I saw you, you just wearing your pants on stage at the Astoria, and Ryan was like, well, I can do it again if you want. and Steve thought like, it was almost like a game of chicken where he was like, go on then. And it was like, all right, we'll do it.
Yeah. I know, and it's like nobody else was witnessing it apart from me and Gary.
Radio, like who sees it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's radio, but it was also the 2000s.
Yeah,
you know I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking ahead, by the way, the album's called Selling a Vibe, out in January. Looking ahead, I mean, you've done a few gigs of like shaking off the rust, but you've got some more shows next year. You've got a massive show in Leeds.
Yeah.
Haven't you?
Yeah, we're psyched about it. Returning to the scene of one of our greatest triumphs, which was like, we played Millennium Square in 2016. You had like Thurston Moore open for us and stuff like proper dreams were made of that night. And it was like, I think it was really good for like, I think a lot of the Cribs fans consider that like the best night that they had. It was a really, really nice weather and like really good bill all day. And so, yeah, it's the 10-year anniversary of that, so we're doing it again.
And we've been trying to make something happen in either Leeds or Wakefield for the last few years. You know, it's I'm glad something like this has finally come round. We've actually managed to get something nailed down.
Yeah, we're not one of these bands who like keeps doing a big show like every year, because then it kind of takes the shine off it, and like, so it just felt like the right time to do this again, and I can't believe it's been 10 years. Like none of us even realised.
But that's the thing, we couldn't really go back too soon because it was really special. And there is an element of romance to all this stuff, and it's like if you did it all the time, then you would you would lose that sense of occasion. And I actually felt like when we booked this one, I almost felt like, no, I want to leave Millennium Square as it was. Like that was such a great night that now I have to go back and do it again. You know what I mean? But like, I'm psyched about it, but it's just like now I'm nervous again. Just like, I don't want to sully that memory, But we'll be good anyway, of course.
Of course you will. Can I just say thank you very much for coming in and joining us. It's lovely to see you all again.
Yeah, Steve, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Bless you. And of course, have a very happy Christmas. Cribs on 6 Music.
Merry Christmas.